board. Everyone to another edition of Hawk Talk. We're back for another year. Glad to have you with us. Jack Benedict here along with Coach Paul Tortorella. We have a special guest coming up at the bottom of the hour. One of the IUP players. We'll keep it a secret for right now. We're glad to have you along here. This is a brand new season, 2024, and we're in a brand new location. As you heard on the opening billboard, we're at the Elks Lodge here on South 13th Street in Indiana, and we're so happy to have this location. It's just been tremendous. They've been very, very great to us. The other thing is, you can come and visit the show. You can sit in, and you don't have to be a member of the Elks to do that. You can just walk-ins are welcome, as they say. So we're glad to have you along. We're going to talk about the previous victory, about the game coming up, and maybe anything else in between. Coach, good to have you along. I know you're just coming off the field from practice today. And what did you do in the meantime? You played Thursday night. You won the game, got back in the early hours, I'm sure.
Yeah, we did a short walkthrough, showed the video on Friday, and we gave them the weekend off. We're going to be playing 8 Saturdays in a row. So this felt like this was a time where we could give them some time off, and we practiced today. It wasn't a normal Monday practice like we normally would. We did a lot more than we normally would on Monday since we had Saturday and Sunday off. Obviously, the team we're playing, Lockhaven, hadn't played yet until Saturday afternoon, so we just felt like rest was probably more important than trying to figure out what they were going to do, even though we didn't see any film on them yet.
19-10 victory over Ashland. The series is 5-0. IUP over a really good opponent. When you went back and you looked at the video, did you see anything that came about that you didn't see live on Thursday night during the game?
I mean, you always see some things, but the bottom line was we probably left about 10 to 14 points on the field. We had 3 drops that were critical situations in the pass game. We were just a little bit off in the pass game. Down in the red zone, we had to kick 2 field goals, and we got stopped on 4th down one time down there. So you'd like to come away with a touchdown in those situations. We did obviously get the touchdown after the bad snap in one play, 11-yard drive, and then we had a long drive where we scored on the pass play. But, looking back at it, we probably could have scored 10 more points and really scored another touchdown and had a touchdown instead of a field goal if we just catch the ball in critical situations. When we got stopped on 4th down, Hilton came in a little too far. If he would have just sat outside a little bit where Cars thought he would be, that would have been a completion and we would have made a 1st down. And then we had a couple drops in the first half that, probably would have led to a touchdown. We ran the ball well. Late in the game, the clock was our ally, so we milked the clock pretty good with our run game. And gave them a long field to drive on. So that was probably part of the reason why we didn't score more points. At the end of the day, style points don't mean anything. We're just trying to win the game, and the best way to go about it was to make them drive the length of the field. The last 2 times they had the ball, they got the ball on their 15-yard line both times. So they moved it the second time, got some yards, but, by time they got down into the red zone, there wasn't enough time for them to even get the ball back, even if they did score. So it played out, kind of the way we wanted to play out. I thought our first half, our defense was tremendous. I think they only had like 50 yards total offense in the first half. And then we gave up a big play in the second half, but, they threw the ball 35 times. Sometimes, you can't stop everything. But, we did pressure the quarterback, got 3 sacks. So it was a good win against a good opponent in a great environment, program that's very highly accomplished, the best facilities in the region by far. I'd say their facility's probably better than a lot of FCS schools. When you throw the indoor, the press box, the football-only stadium, the football-only building, that's Division I football.
Yeah, we'll talk about that a little bit later on. I know we could, kind of focus on that a little bit. You always want to get off to a good start, and fortunately for you, they got off to a bad start with the bad snap from center.
Right.
We have that touchdown, that 11-yard run, and we have it on the video here with Hauser, and it came around the left corner, and he was in, and it was pretty easy going. Well, I say that easy for me, but good blocking, 11 yards out, gave you, right there, you got 6 points. That's the way you start a game.
Well, if they make a mistake and turn the ball over and give us the ball on the 11-yard line, we got to score a touchdown, and we didn't waste any time. We scored on the first play. He made a nice run, bounced it outside, and outran the defender to the goal line. So it was good. We scored quick and got up 7-0. When you go back and look at games, probably the team that scores first probably wins 70 to 80% of those games when you score first. And this is probably it here, maybe.
Yeah.
We ran the ball outside away from motion. We bounced it, and they got kind of caught with a guy didn't keep his outside arm free, their force player, and we took advantage of it. It was a good run, good read by Hauser.
Yeah, exactly. And, you had brought up several areas, the defense. You can't say enough. You held them to -1 rushing. And you had a couple of guys, even starters, that weren't available to you because of the injuries. Defensive tackle Terrell Williams, Towler in the secondary. So you had to have some other guys show up, but -1 for the game, you'd take that any day.
Yeah, and they don't run the quarterback a lot, so that makes it a little bit easier in stopping the run. We take a lot of pressure off of our run game and our running back by running our quarterback. So that gives you a little extra thing that you got to stop. They were strictly a running back run game, and we did a good job at the line of scrimmage. Both linebackers and our front played very well. We lost Terrell Williams, I think, on Monday in practice. He got hurt, so we had to do some quick shuffling with Akungu playing both inside and outside. We knew IT probably wouldn't play. He got hurt like Friday, I think, so we played, Noah Johnston played the whole game, did very well. So, it's next man up. We had guys out on offense also. So,
sure.
We've got enough depth that our 2s or our 1As got to play like 1s, and we thought they did.
Yeah. You brought it up about the linebackers, Garrett Cox. We're going to hear from him a little bit later on. We invited him here. He'll be in about 6:30 or so. And Chuck Ingram, they combined for 21 tackles. Chuck was a defensive back for so long. Is the transition, or has the transition for him been easy? I guess he could answer that better than you can, but it seems as though he's working out very well the new position.
Yeah, he was a safety that was in the box a lot. He was dropping in the box a lot, so he wasn't really a linebacker, but he did have to do some linebacker had to have some linebacker qualities. So he came, this spring. We moved him to linebacker, and he had a great spring. Had a great preseason camp. He's a lot faster at that position than most linebackers. Gives us a lot of flexibility in coverage. It's like having another defensive back on the field when it's a pass. He's a good blitzer. They both played downhill and really shut down the running game, and there wasn't much movement. Our 4 down guys, we rolled those guys a bunch. It was pretty hot. We got a little more depth up front than we've had in the past, to be honest with you. We had 8 guys that we rolled in and out of there for our front 4. And so, we felt like for Ashland to have success against our defense, we would have to make them throw the ball. which we made them do. And they had a series where, we didn't stop them on a couple third downs, and they hit a big play to score a touchdown. But by and large, we did a pretty good job. But the field position was huge. We were protecting a lot of field most of the night. Like I said, their last two possessions, obviously on their own 15. They had a possession started on their 10. The first two possessions of the game both started around the 50-yard line for them, and we got 2 3-and-out, so that was huge. We were a little slow offensively. Hauser dropped a pass on third down. He's going to go for at least 20 yards. He was uncovered on our first series. And then the second series, we got stopped on third down and punted. And we were backed up, actually, and they got the ball on a 50. We luckily got the 3-and-out, and that's when they snapped the ball over the punter's head. So those first 4 series, we didn't play very well offensively, but the defense picked up the offense, and then when we got the turnover, the offense took it in. So I thought, with the kicking game and with offense-defense, complementary football was really highlighted, especially in that first half.
First half, you were ahead 13-0. What was your talk about primarily at halftime? Because we knew that Ashland was a solid team, and they're playing at home and they're playing IUP, that they were going to make a run.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're playing a good team. You just, I know the old cliche, it's 0-0, but 13-point lead isn't. It's not that big of a lead to begin with. They got the ball to start the second half.
Right.
You can't, we said we're going to have to continue to move the ball and control the line of scrimmage offensively and take some shots when they get, because they'll start gambling a little bit if we stay ahead. And then defensively, you got to keep getting off the field on third down. I think we did a pretty good job both sides of the ball on third down in the red zone. We got them in some long yardage situations when they got past our 50, which helped. We stopped them one time on 3rd and 15, which you should. Another time, I think it was 4th and 18, and they had to go for it because it was too long of a field goal, and we stopped them there. So we got in some really good situations on defense. Offensively, we did a pretty good job of not getting in a lot of 3rd and longs. We stayed ahead of the chains most of the time. We had 10 possessions, and 7 of the 10 possessions were quality possessions. We had 2 3-and-outs, and then we had a series to start the second half that was a 3-and-out. And other than that, the other 7 possessions, we moved the ball and created at least field position when we didn't score points.
One of the questions from one of the fans that we had in evaluating how did the offensive line perform for you, especially with Wyatt Koval, who was your new guy on the line at the right tackle spot.
Yeah, I mean, I thought, we thought offensively the line played well. We ran it. We didn't have one negative run. Every run was a positive yardage play. We had 3 sacks. One was probably on Karst. He held the ball a little too long. Another one, they ran a stunt, and I think Cotman got beat at left tackle. And then the other one was kind of a coverage sack. Karst went to run, and then he stopped at the behind the line of scrimmage, which he does. He created a couple throws down the field off of scrambles, and then nobody came open, and he got I think it was like a 2 or 3 yard loss on the one sack. So if we can run the ball for 170, 180 yards in the run game, and our percentage passing game wise was pretty good. You take away the 3 drops, he was probably 80% in the pass game.
Yeah, right.
And he made the big pass for the touchdown to Massey down in the red zone. So we had our chances to make plays, and sometimes we did, sometimes we didn't. But at the end of the day, we kind of were in control of the game. We had a lead the whole game. Probably the smallest lead was 13-7 when they scored to start the second half, but we came right back and scored to go up 19-7. So we were never in a one-score game the whole second half.
Yeah. You mentioned Maurice Massey, who, of course, came late and has had to overcome some slight injuries and so on. We have that touchdown, and that catch is something else because the coverage was pretty good on that, too. And we're going to show that to the fans right now. Yeah, he got the position. Some people have said whenever they looked at his physique, his structure, he reminds you a lot of Irv Charles. Do you?
Yeah, body type wise, he's probably about 10 to 15 pounds lighter. But he does have long arms. He is 6'4", 6'5". He's got a huge radius to throw. Like, quarterbacks love throwing balls to guys like him because you just got to get it close to them. You know, smaller guys, they got to be open because there's not a lot of radius to throw to. Those bigger guys, even if you're covered, can make plays. Now, he was open, and of course, great timing, hit him. Yep. He reached over the end zone. He's a long body, so he's a nice target to throw to with his size. So is Hilton, and we've got some bigger receivers, Chamonix and guys like that. So the bigger guys are easy to throw to. The smaller guys, you're looking for speed, get open, catch the ball, and run with the ball. But Massey's really good with the ball in his hand after the catch. He took an 8-yard hitch into the boundary. I think he had 9 or 10 yards after the catch. He's a big body. He's not easy to tackle.
Yeah.
So we had 6 wideouts play in different formations and different groupings and so forth. So I think we had 7 different guys catch passes.
Yeah.
When you throw the 2 running backs in. So it's last year we were more Zenobel, Ridley, and every once in a while. We'd have another receiver in there. Cy Clark had a big day. He had 4 catches, I believe, and had like 50, 60 yards in reception yardage. So he's one of the smaller receivers, but he's really good with the ball in his hands because, he's a kickoff punt returner too. Right, so we've got a little bit of everything there at wide out, and they did a great job. The other thing about those big receivers are good blockers for the run game.
That's kind of overlooked by the average fan. We're going to be back in a minute. We have Hawk Talk going for you here. We're live from the Elks on South 13th Street in Indiana. Great to have you along for a brand new year of IUP football, getting ready for Lock Haven this week. We've got our microphone that'll be roaming here through the stands, and we'll have some questions from these fans when we come back. Okay, we're back with Hawk Talk, and we're coming to you on U92.5 and Renda Digital TV. We'll be back right after this.
Since 1936, Walker Motor Company in downtown Katanning has served Western Pennsylvania with its no-pressure, no-hassle environment, bringing the kind of family-owned and oriented dealer experience that everyone wants when it comes time to purchase a new or used vehicle. Whether you are looking for a new GMC, pre-owned vehicle, service, or collision repair, come on over to Walker Motors and see why they've been voted #1 for 6 straight years. Visit them at walker-motor.com.
Looking for food, fun, and entertainment with a purpose? The Elks Lodge 931 in Indiana is more than a place. It's community. Become an Elk. Enjoy food, fun, bowling, music, events, and a banquet hall. Distinctly American, Elks are rooted in brotherly love, charity, fidelity, and justice. Annually giving tens of thousands to local charities. We give back not at the Elks, as an Elk. See them at 475 South 13th Street and on Facebook today. Elks Lodge 931, where community and compassion meet.
We're back with you live from the Elks Lodge here on South 13th Street in Indiana at Hawk Talk. Jack Benedict with Coach Paul Tortorella. Garrett Cox is here. He'll be joining us in about 15 minutes, and we'll talk about his little background and his transition here to IUP. By the way, you can order food here when you're here, and you don't have to be a member to come to visit our show. You just come on over and we welcome you. All right, Mark Burdick has the roving mic, and he's got a handful of something.
I have your color analyst cheeseburger, too, that looks very good. Thank you, Pat. Here's an example of some of the fine food that, if you come over and join us on Hawk Talk every Monday, doesn't that look good? Pat, thank you for providing that for me.
There you go, Pat. All right.
Bob Doherty has the first question for Coach.
Coach, there were 2 offensive and 2 defensive players, I think, that were injured were not available the first week. Well, when will they be available?
Yeah, they won't be available this week either. They're probably a couple weeks away. Going into this week, we didn't lose anybody during the game, which was good. So we'll probably have about the same 2 deep in roster this week that we had last week. We've got the 2 defensive players are probably a week or 2 away, and the running back and one of the other offensive guys is probably another week or 2 also.
I'll just follow up on that. Of course, he was referring to Williams and Towler.
Yeah, and then Monaco on offense and running back.
He probably won't go this week?
I don't think so. He hasn't done much, since the third day at camp. So he's just practicing right now, kind of 50-50 half speed. So he won't play this Saturday.
One other, I think I know the answer, but I'm going to ask you, Randy Washington.
He's, a matter of fact, as we speak, he's getting operated on today with a broken hand.
I know.
So he's probably going to be 2 weeks away.
Okay. All right. Mark?
Ron Thomas, Jack.
Congratulations, Coach.
Thanks.
Tough to beat a good team 5 times in a row, so that speaks well for the team. We have some good tight ends. Cole Laney, obviously, and I watched him block. There were no passes thrown to the tight ends. Was that intentional?
No, they were really the way their coverage was, they had the middle from hash to hash they were playing a coverage that was taking away really anything in the middle of the field, and that's mostly when you're throwing to the tight ends. So our really most of our pass game was outside because of the coverage that they were playing. Really the 3 drops were outside throws that really would have helped us in our pass game, but they kind of clogged the middle up. They played like a 2 invert where they played guys on the halves, plus they had a guy sitting in the dig hole as an invert, so they were just like, they weren't going to let us throw the ball in between the hashes, and that's mostly where our tight ends are working. But we did, obviously if we would have got the tight ends involved, we'd have had more than 7 guys catch passes. But you're looking at teams when they leave the middle of the field open, that's when you want to go to your tight end. One time we did have the tight end wide open on a misdirection boot, and he threw the ball outside to Debner. That it was more off of what the defense was doing, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. We talked about this, the rushing, the passing. It was really balanced, 159-yard rushing, 176 passing.
Right.
That's pretty much what Karst Hunter is all about.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at his rushing stats, his 3 sacks are always in there. So if you just look at his runs, some of them are scrambles, some of them are called quarterback runs. He had about 60 yards rushing. With the quarterback runs and his scrambles where he ran the ball that were pass plays. The 3 sacks, you don't want those to happen, but I think the first game, we had some young receivers out there playing for the first time. The one time we kind of didn't run the right route, and he went to go throw it, and he luckily held the ball because he would have probably thrown a pick, and he took the sack because the receiver turned the wrong way. We'd like to have 200 passing and 200 rushing every game to get 400 total offense, but at the end of the day, you just got to score enough points to win.
Yeah, he had a great run on.
Oh yeah, late in the game was a great 25-yard run. It was 3rd and 5. There's still enough time for them to score twice. It was 3rd and 6. He had a 25-yard run that got us out of. We were backed up. We were on our own 25-yard line. After we stopped them, got us out the midfield and created field position for us. And then our last 2 punts with Spittler, they were both downed on the 15-yard line, so we made them go, a long way.
You're reading my mind here. We've been together for so long, but you mentioned about Spittler, and I was going to bring it up. The kicking game for Nick Andrace and for Spittler, and people don't realize, too, he's your holder this year, too. So
correct.
Overall, just comment about them.
Well, they kicked the ball well. Andrace was 2 for 2 on field goals. The second touchdown, we went for 2. Yeah, it could have went either way, 50-50, whether we were going to kick the extra point or go for 2. There's pros and cons for both. I thought we got in. When you look at the video, it's too close to call. Debner catches it. He ends up with the ball in the end zone, but when he first caught it, he may not have been at the goal line. And that's where they called him down, so it could have went either way. But back to the kicking, he made 2 field goals. He was great on kickoffs. A lot of hang time, directional kicks. Other than the last kickoff that they ran back to the 30, every kickoff return was backed up inside their 20. the hang time was important, the placement was important. So that's a big part of field position also. And then Spittler only punted 3 times. He had to punt in the first half, I guess 4 times, twice in the first half, and then the last 2 punts in the fourth quarter. So we can hold our punters down to 2 or 3 or 4 punts a game and not turn the ball over. You had 10 possessions. So if you don't turn the ball over and you punt it 4 times, you're going to score on 6 possessions. That's usually going to give you enough points to win.
Yeah. You have the luxury to have 2 long snappers.
Correct.
That are veterans.
Yes.
Maybe talk about Landher and Lejeune.
Yeah, I mean, it's like when you have those 2 snappers, short snappers and long snappers, you can sleep at night. Like, as you see, Ashland does a thing with their quarterback. They have what we call New York City punt, and then they have regular punt. And it's 2 totally different things. On their New York City punt, their regular center's in there, they snap it to the quarterback, and they either run the fake or he punts the ball.
He did it once.
Yeah, he did it once.
Yeah.
And then they brought in another quarterback. They did it the second time. Well, on the bad snap, that was their regular punt team. It was a regular punter, and it was a regular long snapper, and he was a freshman. And you saw what happened. He snapped it 10 yards over the punter's head. Like when you got the 2 guys, knock on wood, the 2 guys that we have, you don't notice them because they don't never snap the ball bad. It's just like that's just the way it is. And, nobody ever says, man, your long snappers are great. Like they'll tell you how bad they are when they snap it bad.
Right, yeah.
But those guys are money, and like I don't want to jinx them, but, in the 3 years that both of them have been snapping, I think we've had 1 bad punt snap, and we haven't had any bad field goal or extra point snaps. So that's something that you take for granted, and we take for granted that's very important, and you saw it in the game Saturday.
Yeah, exactly.
Or Thursday.
Yeah, Thursday. You were pleased with the overall with the special teams play, the overall conception of it?
Yeah, we had a chance on the 1 punt return. Frazier went the wrong way. That's the other thing when they run that New York City punt team. They're covering with offensive linemen. Like they have wide outs out there, and if they don't make the play, the offensive linemen aren't going to be making tackles out there. So he went, first of all, to the wrong side because he went where their wideouts were in coverage. If he would have took it up the middle or opposite of where their wideouts were, there was only 1 really receiver that would be capable of tackling him. So he ended up getting 10 yards out of it, but we got called for holding. If he would have went the other direction or right up to the middle, he would have had 20 yards easily. But they do that in New York City because they want to. They'll run a fake on you if you're not sound again. They hit us last year on a fake, and if you remember 2 years ago, we blocked the punt in a playoff game from their New York City with their quarterback punting. So it's got its it's like anything. There's pluses and minuses to anything you do. We've been fortunate, other than giving up the 1 fake last year. We've done great on punt return. We blocked the punt and scored a touchdown in the playoff game, and then we got the bad snap this game that led to a touchdown.
Is there any reason they call it New York City?
No, that's yours. That's what we call it. That's our invention.
Okay, we'll call it Brooklyn.
Right.
We'll go for that. All right, we're going to be back in a moment with more of Hawk Talk with Coach Tortorella. Want to remind you the game this week is a 6 o'clock kickoff at Hubert Jack Stadium in Lock Haven. We'll focus on them a little bit later on, but they are better, believe me, than what we've seen over the years at Lock Haven. And in fact, they hold a Division II record that we'll talk about later, a dubious record, that is. Coming up, we're going to have one of the star players for IUP in just a moment. We continue with Hawk Talk here at the Elks Lodge on 92.5 and Renda Digital TV.
Located along the beautiful Allegheny River in downtown Katanning, the Meredith Inn provides an atmosphere of casual, upscale dining. If you're looking for the perfect venue for your next event, look no further than the Meredith Inn. Family gatherings, wedding rehearsal, business meeting, or just a night out. It's perfect for all occasions, and their menu has something for everyone, leaving all full and satisfied. For more information, visit them at themeredithinn.com or call 724-793-7364.
Looking for food, fun, and entertainment with a purpose? The Elks Lodge 931 in Indiana is more than a place. It's community. Become an Elk. Enjoy food, fun, bowling, music events, and a banquet hall. Distinctly American, Elks are rooted in brotherly love, charity, fidelity, and justice. Annually giving tens of thousands to local charities. We give back not at the Elks, as an Elk. See them at 475 South 13th Street and on Facebook today. Elks Lodge 931, where community and compassion meet.
Since 1936.
Here in Indiana, South 13th Street, it's Hawk Talk, and we've got it for the year 2024. IUP got off to a great start Thursday night, beating Ashland 19-10, and of course, Lock Haven had their victory 31-9 over Glenville State. We want to welcome Garrett Cox to our program here today. Garrett is the transfer from Millersville. I'm sure you've heard about it. Garrett, good to have you sit in with us here, and Coach invited you over, and let's have a lot of fun talking a little bit, all right?
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Oh, you bet. I'll tell you what I'm going to do, and I'm not going to embarrass you, but I'll introduce you this way from your background, from the fans that don't know you. Your first year here, red shirt, and you are eligible for your senior year, and we're happy with that. But this guy, he's some kind of football player. AFCA All-American first team last year. Top 100 elite watch list. I know that Darius Bruce was also on the watch list, you two guys, and this is in the country. The D2 CCA second team, Don Hanson second team, that was last year. Cliff Harris Award finalist. And Cliff Harris is the Defensive Player of the Year, so just to get nominated and be on that list is something else. He's also a PSAC Scholar Athlete, two-time All-PSAC East first team, and career tackles 246 coming into this year. So that's a pretty good for a 3-year span, a three-time All-American. So my question is this. You had 1 year. You had a great career at Millersville, and you were from the other part of the state. Why did you choose IUP?
During the portal, I think just going through all my visits and everything, IUP just felt right. It was one of those things that, when you look at the history of the program, and you have coaches that have been here for 30-plus years, and also in my experience from Division II football, when you look at all the good teams, a lot of them are people that are returning with a lot of starters, and it's about the experience.
Mm-hmm. And I understand, too, and I didn't know this till just maybe a week or so ago, that your old teammate in high school, Kalen Frazier, had something to do with it, right?
Yep.
Tell us how that all came about.
Him and his dad, actually. His dad, who's a coach at our high school, Kennett High School, they just kind of had a little bit more of the insight that the coaches don't really tell you during the portal, good or bad. And, he just told me how much he enjoyed it here, how the defensive scheme was, and, how the coaches treat the players, the strength program, the school, just everything behind it that you get to see from an athletic perspective and a student perspective.
Yeah. The other thing is, too, it takes a lot of luck, not only in football but in life itself. But, IUP had lost the two linebackers. I'm sure that had something to do with it, too, maybe.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
How in the world do you get a guy like this? He could have gone anywhere to play football.
Well, the funny story is we were getting ready to play Slippery Rock last year, and we were watching Millersville's defense against Slippery Rock's offense, and that's probably one of the best games he's maybe ever played. I mean, he was all over the place, and this was like 5th week of the season. I can remember going into the defensive staff room and said, I know we don't get crazy with the portal, but that guy right there, if he's available at the end of the year, we're going after him.
So you knew that at midseason?
Well, I didn't know he was going in the portal.
No, but you knew.
But I said if he was, we were going after him because I saw what he did in that game against Slippery Rock. And then, obviously, he's a 3-year starter, and, he's the kind of linebacker that we like to play with, that's downhill and aggressive, and he's been everything we expected him to be.
Yeah. What are you, scholar athlete, as we mentioned, what are you majoring in?
I'm natural science, so it's pre-physical therapy track.
Yeah. And whenever you came over here, did the guys, the players that I'm aware of and over the years, is they accept new players pretty easily. Did that happen for you?
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of the players, they want to win the PSAC and they want to go far. It's unselfish. They're a very unselfish team, so they're all very accepting.
Jeff, we have a technical issue picking him up on radio only. Can you just take a quick time out?
Oh, okay. I'm told that I need to take a quick time out because we have to make a technical change here. All right, we'll be back with Hawk Talk. And Danielle, if you're ready, we'll return after we take a quick time out.
Since 1936, Walker Motor Company in downtown Katanning has served Western Pennsylvania with its no-pressure, no-hassle environment, bringing the kind of family-owned and oriented dealer experience that everyone wants when it comes time to purchase a new or used vehicle. Whether you are looking for a new GMC, pre-owned vehicle, service, or collision repair, come on over to Walker Motors and see why they've been voted #1 for 6 straight years. Visit them at walker-motor.com.
I get back to a situation here with, being welcomed by the new players and all of that sort of thing. And with an opportunity for you to come in and step in, the coaching staff and the team had to be lucky enough to get 2 guys, you and Chuck Ingram, to fit in for 2 guys that just left. It couldn't have been a better marriage.
Yeah, no, I think Chuck has stepped up really good too, especially being somebody that had to move down from safety. And he's not the biggest guy, but he plays very physical. He plays like a linebacker, and he has a great perspective on the safety aspects, so like coverage, and helping me out with that.
Did some of the younger guys come to you as an older player, even though you haven't played here in other years, for advice or that type of thing with whenever you're looking at an opponent?
Yeah, they definitely do. Just being an older guy with all their experience.
Yeah, Coach, you couldn't have asked for 2 guys to fill in for the 2 guys you lost last year, and I'm sure that you had concerns going into the season, like we've lost our 2 starters at linebacker. We got to find some guys, and I don't want to say you lucked out, but you did your homework.
Well, we had some younger guys in the program that weren't quite ready yet. One of the things that we make a big deal out of in our program is we don't start guys that aren't ready. We find a way to not have to play guys that aren't ready to play, whether it's through getting a guy in the portal or playing an older guy in front of a younger guy. And linebacker, some years it's quarterback on offense, some years it's defensive. Like, we don't do a lot in the portal, but when we do, it's for immediate help. Like, we're not bringing a guy in from the portal to be a backup or, to just be a piece to fit. Like,
he comes in, he's going to play.
Well, yeah, he's got to be a difference maker.
Yeah.
And it's got to be at a position where we need immediate help. Like, he was, January 18th or 20th was the day he got on campus. Like, he was the first team linebacker the day he walked on campus.
Yeah.
We didn't bring him in here not to be a starter and to be actually the leader of the defense, to be honest with you. He's kind of like the alpha dog of the defense because he, some teams are defensively play a little bit different than we do. We're into being physical and stopping the run, and we need those kind of linebackers, to be honest with you.
Yeah. And I had mentioned, but led the conference in tackles last year. Okay, we don't look ahead. We're looking at Lock Haven now's next. But I know in 2 weeks you're going to be playing at Millersville. You have any idea how you're going to react there, going back, with people that you played, grew up with, that sort of thing?
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a little bit of a different feeling, especially being on the other side of the sideline, over there. But I'm still friends with most of the players on the team, and, I haven't talked to the coaches, but I was there for 4 years. So
yeah. Well, that's a situation where they've been trying to build, and you came here with a 6-5 record last year as an off year for IUP, even though it's been 13 consecutive winning seasons. Anything else that's happened along the way of note that you'd like to pass along, whether it be on the field? I mean, the atmosphere Thursday night had to be great, wasn't it, at Ashland?
Yeah, they had nice facilities, and I'm excited for the first home game here and seeing what that's like in Indiana.
Yeah, it's unfortunate we only have 4 home games this year, but some people don't want to be in the conference, so they leave. But there was a situation where we thought maybe it would be home this week, but it's not. You've played. Did you play in Lock Haven before?
Yeah, I played there 2 years ago.
2 years ago, yeah. It's a nice setting. It's a smaller type atmosphere, but and I know you guys are doing your homework. That I watched some of the Lock Haven game against Glenville State. And I've seen a lot of football in the last, so many decades. They got some athletes this year. Is that what did you see that in some of the players they have?
Yeah, they've definitely gotten more athletes, especially the past 2 years compared to what it's been, from my freshman and sophomore year.
Yeah. So, I got a chance to just say a brief hello to your parents that came to the game the other night, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, the whole family. I had some family come down from Michigan, too.
Is that right?
Yeah, it was great to see all of them.
You have brothers, sisters?
Yeah, I have an older brother. He actually went to IUP, graduated 2 years ago.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, he got his MBA here.
Oh, well, that helps out, too. Coach, you got yourself a good one here. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was, as much of a sure thing as you could get. I mean, when a guy's a 3-year starter and, whatever, first team all region, this, that, and the other, you don't just get that by who you know. His statistics, speak for themselves. And, in our first game, he played great.
Yeah. 21 tackles for 10 for Garrett and also for Chuck that we talked about with 11. Garrett, thanks for joining us here, and good luck. Be watching you, calling the action here, see you at practice, and we'll see you at Lock Haven.
Thank you. I appreciate you for having me.
Okay, Garrett Cox, good to have him with us. He's a heck of a player, number 36. You watch him when we're playing. We'll be back with more here at the Elks Lodge with Hawk Talk, and coming your way on 92.5 and Renda Digital TV.
Looking for food, fun, and entertainment with a purpose? The Elks Lodge 931 in Indiana is more than a place. It's community. Become an Elk. Enjoy food, fun, bowling, music events, and a banquet hall. Distinctly American, Elks are rooted in brotherly love, charity, fidelity, and justice. Annually giving tens of thousands to local charities, we give back not at the Elks, as an Elk. See them at 475 South 13th Street and on Facebook today. Elks Lodge 931, where community and compassion meet.
Since 1936, Walker Motor Company in downtown Katanning has served Western Pennsylvania with its no-pressure, no-hassle environment, bringing the kind of family-owned and oriented dealer experience that everyone wants when it comes time to purchase a new or used vehicle. Whether you are looking for a new GMC, pre-owned vehicle, service, or collision repair, come on over to Walker Motors and see why they've been voted #1 for 6 straight years. Visit them at walker-motor.com.
With you for the final segment here at the Elks Lodge on South 13th Street in Indiana. We're going to be here each and every Monday night between 6 and 7 o'clock for Hawk Talk. You're invited to come by. We've got folks having their dinner here, people stopping in, questions that we've had from, the peanut gallery out here, so to speak. the what is? Oh, okay. Good. Okay, good prices, the guy tells me, okay? Let's talk about Lock Haven here. This is a team with a third-year coach, Dan Mulhoney. He's really, we talked before, you talked about transfers. They've got 25 they brought in?
Sure, yep.
And they are so much better. And they started to come, I think, maybe like last year. You could see it. What do you see as a difference in them?
Well, they've gone in the portal. And, all their wideouts, pretty much all their running backs are transfers. The quarterback's a transfer. They've got a lot of defensive guys that are transfers. So they've upgraded their talent. He's done a great job recruiting. Like, talent-wise, it's night and day difference now. Like, we haven't played them in a long time. But comparing them now to when the last time we played them, it's night and day difference. They've got a lot more speed. They've got some really good athletes, especially at the skill positions. They've probably got as good a secondary as there is in the PSAC. Really good wideouts, couple good running backs. And they've got some depth too. They've always had some good starting, offenses and defense, but they really didn't have any depth. And you could, wear them out by the time the second half comes around. Now they've got some depth. He's done a really good job upgrading their talent. They're well coached. They're a better overall program.
Yeah.
It's leaps and bounds. I think last year they were 5-5 and had a chance at the last game of the year and lost by 1 point. So they were just on the cusp of going over 500. Well, they've opened the season up with a pretty easy win at Glenville. They were up 28-7 at halftime. That game was over by halftime.
Yeah. You mentioned about the last time, the all-time series. By the way, IUP's won 34 straight. The last loss was in 1981. And, Pat, I will not bring it up. I know your dad was coach that particular day, and Bobby. But the last meeting was in 2019, and I didn't realize it was that bad, 77-14. So the second most points that IUP ever scored was in that particular game. But it's a different atmosphere, and I know I talked with one of the people there, Sports Information, so on. They said we're pretty good we have a pretty good defense, and he thought that probably the defense was the best thing. But it takes more to adapt when you have transfers that's like. You mentioned the quarterback; he's a transfer, so it takes a while to gel, doesn't it? On the offense.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's probably done a really good job of turning the team over. They had a lot of players perform well last year that aren't even on this team. They were seniors, one and done guys, and with the portal now, if you get the right guys and can get them in your program and coach them up, you can turn things around quickly. It's usually, if without the portal, you bring in a freshman class, you bring in another freshman class, and then you hope 4 or 5 years later you got all these redshirt juniors and redshirt seniors playing for you. Well, now that their transfers are all seniors, they only got 1 year left, and it was the same thing last year. So. The quarterback's new, but he's a senior. The one wideout's been there for a while. He's a transfer. He's huge.
That's at Tierre?
Yeah, young. He's like 6'2", 220. They've got another wideout that we played against last year that was Clarion's best receiver. They got another receiver from Minnesota State that played at Minnesota State. That's the thing that they are. They're impressive looking size-wise. All their receivers are 6'1" or bigger. Their running backs have good size. Their line's pretty big also. And then defensively, their 4 defensive backs are all seniors or grad transfers, and they're really good. Mm-hmm. They may have the best secondary, in the PSAC.
Well, that's saying something.
So, and they'll be jacked up to play. It's a home game, their first home game. They moved the game to at night. It was originally a day game. So I'm sure they did that to get more people in the stands. Penn State's not playing; they're off. So they'll be the only game somewhat in town around there. So I expect them to have probably as big a crowd as they've ever had. And they've got a lot of enthusiasm. They play. The one thing that's pretty noticeable on film is they play with a lot of effort and they play hard. Mm-hmm. They run to the ball on defense and. They're very aggressive.
I had another question here that a fan had sent to me. Is it easier to recruit players when you have beautiful facilities?
Well, yeah. I mean, at times, we base our recruiting on tradition. and winning, not on facilities, because if we did, we wouldn't get the players that we get. Would I love to have Ashland's facilities? Yeah. I mean, if you want to compete nationally, like, that could do it, but it just doesn't happen overnight.
Right.
So I'm kind of like one of those guys, it is what it is. We're 5-0 against them. They have all those facilities, and it didn't help them beat us.
Yeah, got to play between the lines.
Right.
Yeah, pretty much, what we have there. With the travel to Lock Haven this week, will you go down and come back, or do you stay over?
No, we won't stay over. It's right on that 2 hour, 15-minute. Usually anything over 2 hours, we usually stay overnight. But with Penn State not playing, there won't be an issue, with travel and traffic. Like, we've run into that before going to Lock Haven. If Penn State's playing, you run into Penn State traffic. So it should be an easy trip over there. Plus, it's a 6 o'clock game. Night games on the road are tough. You sit around in the hotel, in the meeting rooms, and they kick you out of the rooms at noon, and you got to sit in the banquet rooms and lay around for 2 hours, like at Ashland. But, we find ways to get it done. But if you're going to play a 6 o'clock game on the road that's only 2 hours and 15 minutes away, or 2.5, it's probably just better to drive up that day, so it's you're not sitting around in a hotel all day.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a pretty good weekend for football at Lock Haven. Once again, it's a 6 o'clock game. With some of the players that I talked to at practice from time to time, and you've said this many times, that you play well on the road, and they kind of have bought into that they feel the same way. And
yeah,
the wins and the losses tell you that.
Yeah, it's just kind of one of those things you got to, address it early when you take over a program or continue a program. We made a big deal about, hey, we got to play well on the road to win. If we want to win big and we want to win regions and we want to win the PSAC, et cetera, you got to be able to win on the road. Our first PSAC championship game in 2017, we were at Westchester against them. We won on the road. We've had a lot of road wins. This was another big road win. There's no distractions. We play home games, and I'm sitting in my office at Memorial Fieldhouse, and I got people coming in and asking me where the bathroom is. I don't even know who they are. So you'd like to try to lock down the Fieldhouse, I guess, so there's no distractions, but it is what it is. You just got to block it out. There aren't any distractions on the road. You get on the bus. We stayed 15 minutes away in Canton. We got on the bus. We drove 15 minutes, got off the bus, went into the locker room. Didn't have to worry about anybody asking you where the bathroom was or coming in off the streets. And you don't worry about anything but the task at hand. Mm-hmm. And there's, like, on the sideline, there's less distractions when you're on the road. There'll be a lot of less distractions at Lock Haven because on their sideline, the only thing behind you is a cliff. That they'll fall off of if they're.
It's a beautiful picture,
but it's great because when you talk to guys on the bench on the sideline, like there's nothing else over there. Mm-hmm. So you get their attention and they get your attention because there's nothing else going on because there's no stands over on that sideline.
Last weekend in college football, California lost. Westchester lost. They're playing each other this week, so somebody's going to come out of that. So Notre Dame loses. Do you point to any of those things and try to impart to the players that, hey guys, okay, Lock Haven, they haven't beaten us forever. Their program hasn't been good, but look what can happen if you don't show up.
Right. All those things don't really mean anything come this Saturday. It's these kids that we're playing against at Lock Haven, they've really never played IUP. So that record that Lock Haven has, it's not those guys. Our record against them, our guys on our roster have never played against Lock Haven, so they haven't ever beaten Lock Haven. I mean, all you got to really do is look at Notre Dame this week. They went to Texas A&M in front of 100,000 people and beat Texas A&M. That's pretty good.
Sure.
And everybody told them they're pretty good. And they drank the Kool-Aid, I guess, because they couldn't beat Northern Illinois, who's a good MAC team. But if they played 100 games, Notre Dame would beat them 99 times. But on that one time, it was this Saturday, and obviously, for whatever reason, they took them lightly and maybe didn't prepare and weren't ready to play. And Northern Illinois, those games, when you're an underdog, if you can keep the game close, like the closer that game gets to being near the end, the odds for the underdog go up. So I was watching the second half of that game, and at the end of the third quarter, I think it was 14-13. And I'm saying, like, Notre Dame can lose this game. Like, the longer that game went, the more the odds went in Northern Illinois' favor. And, it's just sometimes it's not like a 7-game series. Like, if you screw up and they score a touchdown, it's like, well, we'll get them in game 3 of the series. No, it doesn't matter. It's a one-day, one-shot deal. Like we got 10 games this year because of the Mercyhurst cancellation. We have 10 one-game seasons. We've played one game. That season's over. Now we're into our second game season. So, like, who we play down the road doesn't matter. Who we just played really doesn't matter. The next game is always the biggest game. And, it sounds cliche-ish, and you got to kind of continue to talk about the players. But after a while, when you have the same coaches and the same players and you're not bringing a whole new team every year, they understand the message, so to speak. So that's what we try to get done.
Yeah, that week 9, where it's an open date for you because of the departure of Mercyhurst, I know you tried to get even Mercyhurst to play a game, and it was, it didn't happen. Does that come at least of a better time than it would in the middle of the year?
Yeah. I mean, like, if we don't know what our team's all about by after we play 9 games, like, we don't need a game to explain who we are and how we're going to play. So, like, yeah, it really, if it does come, if you're going to have like, there's a couple teams that are off this week, that have bye weeks this week. Like Fairmont, as a matter of fact. They don't play this week. They get a bye week. I wouldn't want a bye week this early in the season. So ours comes actually at a good time.
Yeah, and of course they had a big first game and then a down in the second game. So, you just never know. And I know we have a couple of minutes left. Being that when you look at your roster, this is a veteran team that you have, so you're going to have a lot of places to fill in so you're always on the lookout, I guess, your coaches and everybody else. Are you more aware this year than you've been maybe in some of the other years? Have we got to go out and we got to get some players? Of course, there's always that portal, but still, that's maybe secondary.
We only had 8 seniors last year. So, when we went to recruit high school kids, we weren't going to take a lot. I think we signed 15 or 16 high school players. Because you just don't have spots for them. We only had 8 seniors on the whole team last year. Now this year we've got 18 seniors, and most of them are 5th and 6th year guys. But we have we got 24 juniors too, and we've got a big freshman and redshirt. We got a big redshirt freshman class, and a smaller true freshman class. But we had a couple true freshmen play Saturday. Goodwin had a sack. He played really good. The defensive end from Westchester, Pennsylvania. He's a true freshman. He played very well. And he's going to be a factor. Like, the more he plays, the better he's going to get.
Does he remind you of Mike Marshall?
Yeah, he's like a miniature, younger Mike Marshall. When he gets bigger, he's got huge hands, huge feet. He weighs 248 pounds now. 2 months from now, he's liable to weigh 270. I mean, he's just got long arms. Everything about him's big.
Yeah.
And he played great. He played 24 plays. I think he had 2 tackles, a tackle for a loss, and a sack. For a true freshman against a good team, Ashland's offensive line was probably the best part of their offense. They had 3 starters back, and he belonged.
Yeah. Wysocki.
Another one. He played inside. He played 22 plays.
I was going to say you had to throw him in because Williams didn't get hurt till
and Wysocki missed about a week of practice in preseason camp with a shoulder injury. He did very well for the time he was in there. He was very active. They didn't knock him off the ball. He's the kind of guy that he says, like, I'm not worried about anybody else. I just want to do what I'm supposed to do. That's my gap. I don't care what anybody else does. Like he was telling the players were telling me, they're like, hey, Wysocki, he's just worried about this. I said, well, that's good. You don't have to worry about anything else.
Yeah.
And he did a really good job. I mean, he's 290 pounds, and he's got a huge lower body. He's hard to knock off the ball. I mean, he's just lower center of gravity, and it doesn't, like, him and Goodwin aren't like big-eyed, and like they've played in good high school programs, and they're ready for this.
Yeah, sounds good. Coach, we're out of time. Thanks for everything. Appreciate it. And have a good week of practice. And we'll see you at Lock Haven. We're on the air at 5:30 on U92.5 and U92Radio.com. Kickoff 6 o'clock at Lock Haven. We'll see you there, and we'll be back here next Monday night at the Elks for Hawk Talk. Thank you, one and all. Have a good night.
Pretty nice. You know?
The following has been a special sports presentation of Renda Media.
All right. Good night, Jack. Thanks.
Thank you.